Welcome to S&M Radio. I'm Shanon.
And I'm Mark.
And this time we are talking about a movie that I would have to say aside from, maybe more so than Creepshow, is one of our favorite childhood movies. And that would be the 1981 werewolf movie, The Howling.
Yeah, this is definitely a classic. This is one of the best werewolf movies ever. I mean, this is right up there, I think, just maybe a touch lower than An American Werewolf in London, but it's certainly in my top 3 werewolf movies of all time. Yeah, this is a great film.
You know, me and you should probably, start, prepping for the show a little bit, because that's the same exact thing I was like when... Every time I watch this movie, I'm like, oh, this movie is great. It's almost as good as American Werewolf in London.
Almost, yeah. It's almost as good. I think the werewolf design, I think the film itself, for movies are just eggs and, these things.
And just a little bit and my opinion.
Strong, though. Eddie Quist, his character when he turns into the werewolf right before he gets the splash of acid in his face. That is a really, really good transformation. I always thought that one was really good. But yeah, I think in American Werewolf in London there was, I think just overall it's just a better film. But yeah, this one's number 2 for me. I remember as a little kid seeing this movie. This was one of these movies that my parents were like really, it was. This type of special effect was new back then in the early 80s, and I remember my dad really wanted to go out and see it because of that, because they were used to like the old Wolfman movie, the Universal film with, the whole transformation was basically just like you take a shot of a guy and then you put a little bit of hair on him, and then you take that shot, and then you put a little bit more hair on him, and then you take that shot. So it's like all these just kind of progressions of just one shot after another.
Transformations.
Yeah, and then this one, they go all out with the, their snouts grow, all the bulging and bubbling of the skin, and like the ears growing, and the nails coming out of their fingertips, and yeah, it's a really good film. I would say that that whole ending scene too, probably where it really, really starts to get going too is with the barn scene, when they get all the wolves up in the barn and they lock them in there, they're setting the place on fire, and that whole scene where they're getting away in the cop car and the werewolves are coming at them. That's really, really good stuff in this movie.
Yeah, it really is a really good movie overall. Even if you even take out the werewolf aspect of it and you were to replace it with anything else, for the most part, it really is a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you that don't know, the storyline is pretty simple for this movie. Television news anchor who has this weird encounter at the end of, or I should say at the beginning of the movie. Part of her treatment is that she goes and she stays at this resort with a bunch of, weirdos who turn out to be werewolves. That's pretty much the gist of the movie.
She's going to meet this serial killer at the beginning of the film, and she meets him at this dirty movie theater, and he ends up getting shot, and this whole thing really traumatizes her. So her therapist is basically like, well, why don't you go out into the country? There's this nice little place, where I go, and you take your husband and you guys can relax and all that. And then it turns out that the therapist and the whole colony out there is nothing but werewolves.
Karen is the news anchor in the movie. She's at this, essentially what is this, adult bookstore. She goes back into the very back of the bookstore and is watching a dirty movie in the, whatever you call that, in the back of the bookstore. One of the things with that opening sequence of this movie, to this day, every time I see that, it always brings back these flashbacks to when I was a little kid. I don't know why, but I always remember that opening porn shop scene more than anything else with this movie. And it's one of those things that I remember way, way back to when I was like a little kid. So I must have caught a glimpse of it when it was like on HBO or something.
Right.
Because I remember it from back before we would have watched this when we were in like 4th and 5th grade or 6th grade.
Okay.
Or whatever. But the other thing with this movie that I really found kind of interesting was when I was doing some prep work for this, because me and you had said after the last episode, the next episode we're going to do The Howling, and so I watched it and started doing some prep work, and then I found out, which I did not know this before a couple weeks ago, but The Howling is based off of a novel that came out roughly like a year before it was released. So I did my due diligence, and I'm like, oh, cool, it's based off of a book. I love reading books that movies are based off of. So I'm going to go get the book. So I got the book, and I read the book.
Oh, wow.
And I will tell you that anything that I read and then I hear that a movie is based off of, I really like the movie to follow the source material, at least a little bit. And this was back in, this is 81, and the book came out like in the 70s, and the movie was recorded like in like 79, 80. They took a lot of liberties with the movie, as I'll tell you.
Okay.
So the basic idea of the book was kept in place. The other thing with this movie that we've kind of touched on a previous episode of this show was the fact that there is a sex scene in this movie. And when we talked about the Wolf Cop movie last year, we kind of touched on the werewolf sex scene in that movie. And then even when we talked about Wolf Cop, we'd said, oh, there was a werewolf sex scene in The Howling. This one is a little bit reverse of what it was in Wolf Cop. You had a sex scene that, this was in the early 80s, so it was the whole cheesy softcore porn stuff. Kind of the same as it was in Wolf Cop, I guess. They started off as humans and they had sex, and then they actually transformed into werewolves while they were having sex, which was kind of weird.
And then they transformed into cartoon characters.
Yeah.
That was kind of interesting. Like that final shot is like an animated scene. So that was kind of weird. The one thing too with The Howling, I will say that the original movie does stand out quite well. It is a definite early 80s horror classic, but pretty much I would say hands down all of the sequels are terrible. And I haven't even seen all of the sequels, but I'm going to just go ahead and say they're all terrible, because the ones I have seen, like 2, 3, and maybe parts of 5, were terrible enough that any ones that are in between or after, they couldn't be good. That's how bad those sequels were. And I know the sequel even had Christopher Lee in it. And you would think that he would, like, at least his presence would make the film better, but no, it doesn't. It's a terrible movie.
No, the Howling movie came out in 1981, like we had said before. At that time, it was already kind of a given with, especially horror movies, that you would make a horror movie and you would leave it open at the end for a sequel. And then you would make a sequel and you would leave that open at the end for another sequel. And as those sequels progressed, you would kind of lose the storyline of the original movies and kind of make up your own movies as they go along. And as I was preparing for this episode, I decided that I was going to go ahead and at least watch one of the sequels. I'd seen, like you had probably seen up to 4 or 5 before. And then I started doing some digging, and I found that there actually was the latest sequel to this was made in 2011.
That's right. It was kind of like a reboot.
It was called The Howling Reborn. So I was like, oh, I'll give that one a shot and see what it's like. And it was absolutely horrible.
Yeah, there's something about the sequels. They just did not do that original movie any justice. I mean, I think it's like most of them went straight to video, and it just was like they were just basically using the name and trying to get people to rent these movies based on that name. But yeah, I mean, they're just, oh my gosh. I mean, talk about a terrible franchise. But yeah, the original movie does stand out. Great special effects, good story, good acting, I think. And then Joe Dante, who we didn't talk about too much, directed this film. And he's known also for Gremlins, and one of my favorite guilty pleasures is Piranha. I don't know if you're a fan of those movies, but like the original Piranha is like one of those movies. I actually have that on DVD. I just had to get that one. That one, it's just one of those terrible Jaws ripoffs, but it's got enough charm to it that it's fun.
In addition to all of the horrible sequels, even including the last one we talked about, which that one came out in 2011, so that was, meant for people that aren't nearing 40 like us, meant for more people like our kids' age. So it's very like stylistic, like MTV type kind of movie that you would expect. But also last year, there was talk of a remake, not so much as a reboot, but an actual flat out remake of the original. And that looked like that went on for a little bit. But looks like it's kind of fizzled out. I couldn't find anything sooner than like May of 2015. So I'm assuming that the talks for that have kind of died off.
Okay. That's too bad. I wouldn't mind seeing a remake of this movie. I think The Howling would be a good candidate for a remake. I don't think An American Werewolf in London could really probably be remade. It's one of those really well classic films. The Howling, though, it's a great film, but yeah, I could picture them like taking that and moving that into a more modern direction. You and I probably watched this one quite a bit because I remember you and I were on a big werewolf kick back in like 4th, 5th grade, right around there. So this must have been like high on our list because I remember this movie. This was one of those movies that like I kept waiting for it to come on TV because I was like this. I was hooked to horror movies coming on regular TV so I could record them, and because we didn't have like I don't think we had any like special cable channels except for like the standards like USA and all that. So I'd always like every Saturday or Sunday, one of the two, we would get like I think it was a Chicago Tribune, like the really big thick newspaper, and they had this like TV guide type magazine in it, and it would show you all the movies that were on for the week, and I would like just grab that thing and scour through it, especially around like October. That was the best. But I'd like look for movies, and so I could get my Betamax ready to record. And I remember like Howling, they never like the Howling, it wasn't coming, and I kept wanting it. I wanted to see it so badly, and it was every time it was never on. Then finally it came on, but it was on. It started at like pretty late, like past my bedtime. So my dad recorded it for me, but he like missed like the very beginning of it. So he got most of it, but just like the very beginning. So that was the copy I had on beta that I probably wore the crap out of.
We were in 4th grade. I don't even know if we really even want to talk about this on the air.
I know where you're going. The werewolf, yep, okay. SB, right?
So, one of the things leading up to this episode, when we first decided just a couple weeks ago, I was excited from the very get-go, and I've been pumped for today 2 weeks, and then
yes.
My wife earlier this week was like, why are you so excited about all of this? Like, you have no idea what werewolves mean to me and Mark.
Yeah, it's practically in our DNA.
When we were in 4th grade, folks, me and Mark seriously had it in our heads that we were werewolves.
Yes, we did. And there were good reasons, too.
I mean, other than the fact that we would turn every time it was full moon out, but...
Yeah, I know. I mean, I had really hairy hands back then, too.
Well, that might have meant something else. I'm not sure.
That could be, too.
So we won't get into too much of the details because I think if we got too far into it, we'd probably have some legal issues in our hands. Possibly.
Yeah, I think we got to be very careful with this. We'll just say that werewolves do exist. Yeah, I think that's the best way to leave it.
Oh.
If you believe hard enough, they will come.
Yeah, and so watching this movie, and what movie did I just watch the other day? They refer to it in the Howling too, I think, or maybe it was the new Howling, where they refer to as what did they call it? Leprosy or not leprosy, but lycanthropy.
Lycanthropes?
Yeah, something like that, where they like. And I didn't actually do any digging into this to see if this is actually true or not. They kept referring to it in the movie where it was like some weird like mental condition, kind of like arachnophobia or something.
I see.
Where you thought you were a werewolf, and every time it came up on the screen, I was like, oh. I wonder if that's real, because me and Mark had that when we were in 4th grade.
So that's what we had.
So maybe we had a real condition caused by the Howling and American Werewolf in London.
I'm going to check my diagnostic statistical manual and see if it's in there. That is funny. Yeah, I think we may have had that.
Well, we very well might have. I mean, we were some weird kids, but...
We were. Hey, we were like the only kids watching... Friday the 13th and werewolf movies after school. Everybody else was out, doing other things, but that's what we were doing. Crap, I think it was a werewolf that year for Halloween too. Yeah, I was. I had a really cool rubber werewolf mask with like the brown furry part on the back of it, and it was that and like a ripped up flannel. I think that was my costume that year.
I'm pretty sure I was a vampire of some sort. I was like Dracula every year.
Ah, okay. Yeah, it's funny, like looking back at those. Yeah, because those last few years there at school, like 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, when we were like really into horror movies and stuff, and how terrible the costumes were. Like, nowadays, like you can pretty much look like you just came off of the movie set if you, just go online and get the pieces. But like back then it was like, oh, gotta go to Jewel Osco and get my my $2 hockey mask with like 3 holes in it. The cheap rubber werewolf mask and the fake nails.
Or you get your latex mask that's an adult large, so it looks like...
Oh, yeah.
the eyeballs are like, top of your head and your nose where the mouth is and stuff. I remember a good friend of ours was Freddy Krueger one year, and he had got his entire Freddy Krueger get up at Jewel Osco.
Yeah, it was funny because Jewel Osco became the place to get a costume that year. They had that awesome Freddy get-up. They had the mask and the hat and the glove, which was really cool. They had the hockey mask that was terrible, but it was like the best one of all the department stores around the area. And it was like, oh crap, I got to go to Jewel Osco to get my costume. It was even better than Kmart, which Kmart should have done up their ante a little bit.
That Freddy Krueger get up so bad. Now when you look back on it, that hat was like this weird foam stuff.
Yeah, it was a foam hat.
But now,
hey, do you remember that?
Oh, go ahead.
Do you remember that haunted house we did in 6th grade, with Mr. Bailey?
Oh yeah, the one that he wouldn't let us do half of the stuff we wanted to do.
Well, the cool thing he did have, I remember one kid, he had like laying on a table or something, and they had gotten a liver from like some butcher shop or something. Do you remember that? And they put like the wax paper over his stomach and then rested the liver on him. So he just lay there with like a cow's liver or something on him the whole time.
Yeah, I remember. Well, the other thing that he did do to his benefit was, you remember we put those sheets up?
Yeah.
And we had like our friend that was dressed as Freddy Krueger, and then a couple other people that were dressed as a few other things. We might have had a Leatherface in there too that year. But we got to do the real like haunted house thing where we had these halls made out of curtains or out of like bed sheets. And as these kids, this was in 6th grade, folks, and our school was K through 6. Just putting that out there right now. So when I say this next part, everybody will be like, what the hell was wrong with your teacher? So the kids would come through this little hallway, and like a real haunted house, we were dressed in whatever outfit we had on, and we would like jump through the curtains through the bed sheets at these kids, like come in between them, like rah. And this was the big thing for the 6th graders to do at our school.
Oh yeah.
And K through all the other kids that weren't Mr. Bailey's class would come through the haunted house at various times. I can't remember if we had other classes helping us out with that or if that was just us.
I can't remember either. Yeah, no. I think it. I don't know. Maybe we had like. Wasn't there another 6th grade or not? Maybe we were I can't remember that.
No, there was another 6th grade. There was at least one other one, if there wasn't 2 other ones.
Okay. And we were in the basement too. I remember that.
Oh yeah, we were in the basement. So one of the things that in our 6th grade class, we had the 2 of us, me and Mark. We had another one of our friends whose name starts with M, was in our class.
Oh, yeah.
And then we had another friend of ours whose name starts with a C, was in our class. And the 4 of us, the other 2, not quite as much as us, but the 4 of us loved horror movies, and we all watched horror movies all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so it was a dream come true when we had this haunted house idea come up. We're like, oh, this is going to be perfect.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the things that me and Mark came up with, I don't know if you remember this or not, but we wanted to have, because we had these, so you walked into the classroom on a normal day, and we had this, there was like a cabinet, and then there was like a bench thing, and a shelf thing, but underneath the bench and above or between the shelf and the bench, there was like these hooks where you would hang your like coats and your backpacks or whatever. And there was another cabinet thing on the other wall. So me and Mark had this idea that we would tie a kid up on the hooks for like the coats, and we were gonna hide his legs or something somehow, and then we're gonna get a garden hose and like have it coming out of his shirt and have it like his intestines were hanging down.
I don't remember that. That's awesome. That's funny.
And do you also remember too, we wanted to do the Judith Myers bed?
Yeah, I kind of do. Tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, that's all we wanted to do. We wanted to have a bed set up and then have Judith Myers' headstone on it, and then just have like somebody like flopping around on it.
That would have been awesome.
And Mr. Bailey was like, "Oh, hell no!"
Oh, that's cool. Oh,
and you also got to remember, just to put this in context of timing, this was also the very start of Dare.
Yes.
We had. Our 6th grade class was either the first or the second classroom that took the Dare class. One of the lessons that they gave us in Dare was they came in and they had like a sponge in a Ziploc baggie thing, and they lit a cigarette in the classroom, and they like squeezed this baggie thing, and,
yeah.
And the baggie like smoked the cigarette, and then they took the sponge out afterwards, and they're like, "Look at it, it's dirty."
Yep. Oh yeah. So they lit a cigarette right in class. But then there was the 5th grade teacher who was smoking like nonstop between every class. Different times.
Good times.
All the teachers probably had flasks in their desk drawers too.
We used to go to lunch, And our lunchroom, do you remember this? They would bring in like the stacks of hot meals from wherever they were made at, and they were always like this weird like aluminum thing with aluminum foil over the top of it, and they they threw it on a tray, and you got like a fork or whatever. And,
a spork.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, I remember the burrito. They give you a burrito and a big hunk of cheese.
Now I always remember the Salisbury steak because it always had like weird green like pepper flecks on it, but they look like boogers.
And then every Tuesday was like pizza day, so you get that like rectangular piece of pizza in the aluminum tray, the foil over it.
Oh, so weird.
Oh yeah, like little fruit cocktail, and like you get the hot part of the lunch and then the cold tray. And that usually had like the fruit, and the hot one had like whatever you were eating, a corn dog or a piece of pizza or whatever.
And then our playground was you go outside and it was this paved area. It was like blacktop. It wasn't really paved. It was blacktop. And then it went around, if I remember right too, it like went around the corner of a building. So we had like one area and then it was like curved off to another area. And then we had a ballpark.
Yep. We had like 2 diamonds, I think.
Yep. And the one thing that I will never forget when I went to school in there was in the wintertime, the one ballpark would like huddle up. Must have huddled up all the time, but with like this little like pond in it. And in the wintertime, it would freeze. We would be out there at recess time, like skating in our sneakers on this ice. Which,
oh yeah,
in this day and age, that would never fly. You could never do that anymore.
Nope. Not only did we begin our horror movie quest, but also werewolves were running rampant in the playground. Go see The Howling. Go watch it. It's good, and it'll bring back all your childhood memories of hanging out in the playground with werewolves.
And I would also, as a side note on that too, I would suggest reading the book as well. There's 3 of them. There is a Howling 1, 2, and 3. But we had Tristan and Destiny on the show, a couple of months ago, maybe 6 months ago, talking about their upcoming movie, Red Eye. And
cool.
They just launched their Indiegogo campaign for the movie they're going to be shooting here pretty quick. So if you go to our Facebook page, there's a link on there. You can go out to the Red Eye Indiegogo campaign page. They have some pretty awesome perks out there. They have DVDs, Blu-rays, T-shirts, I think. One of the cooler things that they are going to have is VHS tapes.
Awesome.
So go out there, give them, if you can't even, just drop them 99 cents or $1 or $2 or whatever, or, get a thank you online or something. It doesn't, every little bit helps. Yeah, so The Howling, me and Mark give it, I would assume 2 thumbs way up in the sky.
Oh, yeah. You got to give this one thumbs up, man. You got to see The Howling, especially if you're a werewolf fan.
For sure. All right, guys. I think that wraps it up this time around. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with something else. Maybe something old, maybe something new. I don't know.
Cool. So we got to watch a new movie? Oh, man.